Hello, I'm Adam Roxby, and if you were listening to my voice on the official Friends of the Earth podcast back in 2012, then you would have heard.
And I'm Denis Walker from South East Essex Friends of the Earth. Coming up on this episode, I talk to the winner of this year's Earth Mover Campaign of the Year, Tina Rothery, about her group's campaign against fracking in the Blackpool area.
But hang on, let me rewind and start, as all good stories do, at the beginning. Many years ago, when I was in college, I started to become aware of environmental issues and was looking for an outlet for the growing anxiety I was feeling. Like many people, I found environmental campaigning to be the best outlet for this energy, and soon found Friends of the Earth, the campaigning group. Over the years, starting around 2004, I became more and more active in attending marches and protests with enthusiasm. I threw myself into it and volunteered at my local Friends of the Earth group. However, I wanted to do more, but I found that I had an odd skill set. I wasn't particularly good at public speaking and didn't have any experience in campaigning, but I was interested in technology and media making. So, the bright folks at Friends of the Earth decided to put me in contact with another local nerd, Denis. So, that's how it all started. At our regional gatherings or events that needed something technical doing, you would either find me or Denis there tinkering with technology, trying to make something happen. It stepped up when Friends of the Earth moved from conference to base camp. Now, if conference was like a series of lectures in some centralized university campus, then base camp was a full-blown festival feeling. It was set in a beautiful location in some hostel somewhere, and as always, Denis was there making it all work. You could often find him behind a bank of computers and monitors, making sure it all ran smoothly. No matter what crazy audio-visual idea people had, Denis would open up his bag and find something to make it all work. This is what I looked forward to each year. It was the highlight of my calendar, getting a chance to get together with friends and feel like I was doing something of value. But Denis just wasn't only a whiz with all the technology, he was there to have fun. And when the main tent didn't need him anymore, he would often be up in the early hours enjoying the music and the games that made base camp so special for all of us that got to be there.
Hi everyone, Adam Roxby here at the end of day one of Friends of the Earth Base Camp. It's been a fantastic day. It's just as brilliant as I've always remembered it. Got my beer, we're going off to the bonfire, might catch a few stories, might catch a bit of video, might catch a bit of audio. It's just fantastic to be around people who are so compassionate and so dedicated to something so important. It feels like I've come home.
Unfortunately, at base camp, food is scarce, so Denis has to catch his own.
We shared some great times there, not just having fun, but running workshops on audio journalism. We made a podcast and videos, trying to spread the message, raise awareness, and just make a positive change in the world. We were young and full of energy, and we believed that we were in a special position to make a lasting benefit for all people, for people and planet. Then Friends of the Earth stopped them. It was 2016 and we were once again in Castleton in Derbyshire for what would be the last base camp. At the time, I was genuinely mourning the loss of this event, but I can understand it now that time has passed. I guess the money and the energy it took to put into the event wasn't a good enough return for what Friends of the Earth was trying to achieve. I can understand that. I mean, I went there to feel revitalized in my campaigning efforts, but if I'm honest, and maybe others, I went there to have a good time. Good food, good drinks, and to catch up with friends like Ted and Denis. It was a special period of my life that I'm glad I got to experience. It was also at base camp where, and I'll never forget this, I was standing outside one of the tents with my partner in crime, Ted, when Denis walked over in his purposeful stride that he does and proudly announced to us that he was gay. Well, what could we say? We were pleased for him. And if there was anybody that deserved happiness, then it was Denis. And I was really honoured that he could share that with us. But time moved on, and without the regular events, our contact became sporadic. He was still there when I needed him, selfless as always. He came to my hometown just so he could play with his drone. He came and recorded footage of the house my folks were renovating with his, at that time, pretty rare 4K camera. And all the way back in September 2015, when I was looking to get an electric car for the first time, I asked Denis for his advice. He didn't just send me some emails or tell me what websites to check out. He was there throughout the process and even drove me halfway across the country to look at the car that I had chosen and come back to Essex. He was there just showing me the ways of charging in a time when the infrastructure was still in its infancy.
Right,
Take two.
take two. Because the other one was broken. So this is
I'm
Adam's
going to
first
hit the
charge.
tick button, very bottom button there.
It's on.
Yeah. Have you started the car?
Two. So DC.
Yeah.
Because that's what you can do.
Yeah, top one.
DC.
Wave the card.
Please wait.
There we go. And then you can grab the cable. Right hand one.
Iron one. This one here. Just take it off the thing. Block, block, block.
And then lift the thing up.
Thing up.
Push the catch on the left hand one.
Catch on the left hand one.
And then slot it in.
Slot it. Like that.
Yeah, and just pull the trigger up and squeeze. There we go. Oops, no, that didn't clip in. This is a bit dodgy as well, by the looks of it. Okay, that's better.
Well,
Connect. Yes. Initialization. And eventually it should tell you what percentage you're on and that it's charging. There we go. Wonderful.
right. Refreshment time.
We even filmed a fun little drone video with my car and his car. I would visit his hometown of Southend where we would speak about environmental campaigning, the past, technology, and now dating. There was one man that Denis was getting pretty excited about, called Alex. And in time, he would become Denis's husband, and Denis would become Denis Champion Walker. But life happens, and you get older. Your world changes. You move from planning to go to a weekend eco-festival to school runs and swimming lessons, holidays with the kids. I tried to keep in touch online and we chatted now and then, but the months added up, and soon it was longer and longer without contact. Denis had moved out of Essex at this point with his husband Alex and was building a life as a married man while I was down here, having children, working on several projects. 7 years to the month, when I finally said goodbye to my Renault Zoe and got a new electric car, I thought of Denis, made a note of myself that I should try and find the time to tell him about it. I never got around to that. I regret that. Then I just happened to look at Facebook, which is a rare enough occurrence in and of itself, and noticed that he was selling his Tesla. I remember in 2019 when he had driven up to show me it, and he loved that car.
My 1 second every day. Would you say it's quite a
I thought I was a pioneer in 2015 when I got my first electric vehicle, but Denis, as usual, was way ahead of the curve. So to see that he was selling it for health reasons got me interested. But I didn't look into it. I don't think I wanted to know what was going on. I wanted to be content with the ignorance I was basking in. Then another post came from him announcing a new video on a new YouTube channel. Well, of course, had to check it out, see what he was getting up to now, seeing how things were.
Hi, this is Denis Walker, and today I'm going to improve the storage in my adhesives section of my cupboard, where the tape is just sort of piled high, and I'm going to use a solution that I saw Adam Savage build with some dowel. So I can basically have two dowels and the tapes then sit between those. I'm going to install that at the top of the cupboard somewhere here, and then I can easily see all the tape that I've got and access it much more quickly than having to wade through the piles of it that are there.
The warning signs were there right from the thumbnail. It was Denis, but not the Denis I remembered. He was thinner and more pale. The enthusiasm and passion for all things tech were still there, but all hope that I had that he was doing well was gone. He was now living with terminal cancer in a nursing home, which I later found out was actually a hospice.
Hi, my name's Denis, and this is Denisolaneous, videos about the various things I do to keep myself entertained since my cancer diagnosis.
I sent him a video to try and put into words how I was feeling. I've been a nurse for about a decade now, and have spent so long on the medical side of people's grief and misfortune that it's hard for me to get out of that mindset, especially when it's happening to somebody I cared for. I tried to skip around the obvious cliches of how are you doing, it'll be okay, and life's not fair. On the 23rd of January 2024, he made his first video, and in true Denis style, it was a way to organise his adhesive tapes. He made 7 videos up until the 26th of February 2024. I was chatting again with him regularly now on WhatsApp, and he was pleased that he'd found a tip that he couldn't find anywhere else online, so he decided to make a video about it. He thought it was going to be viral. He thought it was going to be really helpful. He told me that on the 9th of March, his next video might be a bit delayed as he was feeling a little bit ropey. You know how this ends, right? No one needs reminding that life isn't fair. So it was on the 26th of March that Denis's husband Alex shared the news that Denis had died the day before. Just a few weeks after his last text, I cried. Can't remember the last time I cried like that. Sort of crying that you do when you don't care who's watching you. There was nothing else I could do. It was the only thing I could do. Over the next couple of days, I managed to regain my composure and began thinking about what he left behind. And the thing that stuck with me was the end, the way he left this world. He'd been living with this cloud for such a long time, longer than he was expected to. I'd like to think that if something like that happened to me, then I would use that time to do something good, something meaningful. But if I'm honest, I think I would have just hidden from the world and shaped my fists up at the air to a god that I don't believe in. Not Denis. I'm sure he had his moments, late at night or in conversations with Alex, about how a man like Denis, who had already had such rotten luck with his health, just didn't deserve what happened to him. But the next day, he'll be online, in front of the camera, making videos for people. In this modern age, we fixate on the last acts of people, last tweets from famous people, or the last photo before a disaster. What was Denis's last act for the world? The last thing he made. It wasn't a video sobbing about how he was going to miss everybody or how sad he was or how unfair everything was. It was a video on how to program LED lights for the back of his TV. The last act online was to think of others and how he could make something to help other people. This was how he lived. The hundreds of people who made comments about his death all attested to how generous, kind, and creative and a giving person that he was. And this just isn't being polite for a person who's no longer here. I saw it myself, firsthand, and I can attest to it. It seems so cruel that when someone dies, you see how much of a positive impact that person had. I hope he knew how much he was loved and respected while he was here with us. Over the weeks, the sense of disbelief is still there, but I've managed to wean myself off the unhealthy habit of checking WhatsApp and seeing the last time he was online, checking his YouTube page in case it's all some mad dream and there's another video online, probably about something esoteric or niche, but obviously always well-informed and useful. The best way I think I can honour my friend is to take his advice, the advice that he gave just weeks before his death. It doesn't matter where you start, just start. And as is fitting, I will leave the last word to Denis, with some fine advice, set to music. Goodbye, my friend.
It's not much of a life when you're just a pretty face. Just to be whoever you are is no disgrace. Don't be scared if you don't fit in. Look who's in the reject bin. It's the raggy dolls. Raggy dolls. Raggy dolls. Raggy dolls. Dolls like you and me. Raggy dolls. Raggy dolls. Raggy dolls. Raggy dolls. Made imperfectly. So if you got a bump on your nose or lumps on your toes, do not despair. Be like the raggy dolls and say I just don't care. 'Cause raggy dolls, raggy dolls, raggy dolls, raggy dolls are happy just to be raggy dolls, raggy dolls, raggy dolls, raggy dolls.